What is going on, guys? We just watched season 1 of Ozark, and we are coming at you with a full top 5 character ranking. We're going to be talking about our favorite characters from season 1 of Ozark, and that might change as it goes forward. So we're going to see how we feel about these characters as the show advances, and we're starting with our number 5 pick here, all right? This is our 5th favorite character. Are they towards the
Favorite
bottom?
character. Me and Hayden don't know. Me and Hayden created our own list. We don't know who we pick. So Hayden, you go. You're with your number five.
Completely undisclosed, guys. My number 5 pick is the boy with special needs, Tuck, dude. We're
Okay.
locking
Okay.
in Tuck, dude. Every
That's a good
time
pick.
he's on screen, he makes your boy smile. He makes your boy smile. Why? Because Jonah has a friend. Jonah's a cool guy, all right? His parents were hating on him this season. They thought he was going to be like a school shooter, all this stuff.
Like
He's
animal abuser.
animal abuser. No, he's curious, all right? He's in a new place. Look, dude, he's a good kid. Look at him, dude. Father's got the, hand on the shoulder. We're there, and I'm loving it. So, yeah, dude, number 5 pick is Tuck. He's a legend. Love that guy. Not very many lines. I don't care, though. He's a cool
I,
dude.
I respect the pick. Tuck unfortunately did not make my list just because we don't get enough of him, and that might contradict with one of my picks because we don't see a lot of one of my picks. But no, Tuck, I do like the character. Like every time he is on screen, I really enjoy it, and you feel like he could make a big impact in like there might be one or two specific areas or scenes where like Tuck might really affect the plot in a big way. But I don't know. We'll,
Absolutely.
we'll see if that comes to fruition. But yeah, Tuck, great pick. Dude, my number 5 pick is Charlotte.
Okay.
This is an odd one. So Charlotte, I was thinking about putting her higher too. I could go back and forth. There's some things. Some of Charlotte's actions obviously are, I don't know, irrational or you don't love them. She's very polarizing to me. Like sometimes I'm like I love her, sometimes I'm like eh. But I think what's great about this character is she's literally a teenager. And if you were to think about yourself in this situation, you find out that your parents are laundering all this money for some drug cartel. Like feel like many of us would have a very similar reaction the way that she has.
Absolutely.
Where sometimes she's like, this is ridiculous. Like, what is happening?
She's questioning the morality of the family, and she's
Mhm.
sort of the force that buttresses up against the family from within the family. So, there's
And
all of these things closing in on the family from the outside world, but also Charlotte's like not having any of it. She wants to go back to her original school. I like
right,
that a lot.
and she yeah, and I like the fact that she's like going against the grain and like pushing back on this new lifestyle. But some of her actions off of that, some of them I can really get behind, and some of them I struggle and like they take me away from the character a little bit. And
I
that's
think so
where
too,
it's
yeah.
a little polarizing there. But no, it's I think it's just really cool because it's a very different perspective. She's coping with it very different than Jonah, which you already discussed. But I think it's just a very real perspective if you were to put yourself in there as a teenager who's like, Jonah's a little too young for some of this stuff, as even though we do see him grow up quickly, but she can fully understand what's happening, and she's just like, this is ridiculous, and she just does whatever she wants basically, and it's interesting.
And I'm Marty's biggest supporter, so that's where this character really began to frustrate me. It's like, all right, Charlotte, like, can you just chill for like a second and
Dude,
like
what's
try to help
interesting,
out the family? Which she does come around towards the end of the
but
season.
she almost seems like she's more on Marty's side than she is on
I
Wendy's
think so.
throughout.
Yeah, yeah,
And
totally.
it seems like she'll listen to Marty a little bit more. Not that like they're agreeing on everything or Marty can't convince her to do everything that he's asking, but it's like she gets mad at Wendy like numerous times,
Mm.
and like Marty kind of has to reel her back in and be like, "Oh, don't blame your mom. Don't get mad at her."
Yep.
And which you got to commend Marty
And
for
I
that. But let's
really do love the flashbacks when that in that one episode where they flash back to the family years prior, and it shows Marty's relationship with the daughter and how he would like
yes.
kiss her on the forehead every night, say like daddy's little girl, all this
Well,
stuff. And that kind of like gives insight into how thoughtful the plot was thought out
right.
when
Well,
developing these characters and why
and
there's grudges
remember,
held.
in that flashback, wasn't it like Wendy was working at home like the whole time? So it was Wendy always with Charlotte. So they had that like special bond. But then things quickly changed
Mm,
where she kind of became like daddy's little girl, and
mm-hmm.
like they had that special bond, and Wendy didn't like love that. And but I think in throughout this season we see that bond kind of play out where Charlotte does tend to take Marty's side, especially with finding out about the cheating scandal.
Absolutely. All right,
The
going to our
affair that
number 4 pick here. This is my number 4 pick. We
was.
went with Ruth, okay? And
Okay.
is
Okay.
Ruth kind of pissing me off this whole season, trying to kill Marty with the electric ladder? Absolutely.
Yep.
But she's conflicted, dude. She's conflicted. She's talking to her evil dad right now, devil on the shoulder. And Marty's kind of the angel on the shoulder trying to help her out, give her a life. But yeah, she goes through a lot of conflict this season. I love this actress. I love the Missouri accent. She's kind of like
Just
coming
like
from this place that she doesn't really appreciate. There's no pride in her family. Um, is she kind of a nuisance the whole season until the end? Like, absolutely. But I'm excited to see how things develop. I really think that she will grow to be a very interesting character. Number 4 pick.
dude, that's a great pick. I won't comment a lot because I have her higher on my list, so I'll go into my reasons why I think she's worth a little bit higher of a rating for you. But
Okay,
agree with a
okay.
lot of what you just said. My number 4 pick, and I wanted to put this man so much higher because he's literally like I absolutely love this character. We just don't get enough of him, and that's Camino del Rio. I
Let's go, dude.
absolutely love Camino del Rio. We literally just don't get to see him at all until like the
I
very end. We see
know.
him in the first few episodes, and we talked
There
about it
he is, dude.
in our season one review, and you guys can go check out that video. We did a review on season one or episode 1 and 2. We'll probably review the whole season as well, but he like this show set such an like ominous tone, and he felt like such a big presence that was a
He was
true threat.
untouchable. He was untouchable for the whole
Right.
season.
And then we finally see him come back, and we get a little bit more of him, and then boom, he's gone.
Mm,
And that sucks. But his presence, I think, it's very ominous and very similar to Giancarlo Esposito in
mm,
Breaking Bad. I think it's different in how they present it in the
mm.
show, but I think they both have a very similar effect uh, on all the other characters in the actions they take around them.
Absolutely. I absolutely love Camino Del Rio. He has this sort of confident, persuasive businessman-esque vibe to him where he can like talk his way out of situations. He has great metaphors, but he's also like very ominous and threatening. It was very cool during the flashback episode to see how his relationship sort of initiated with Marty.
So I
Um,
did enjoy that.
it was very interesting how Marty slowly like became this guy's right hand man. And he didn't even want to be in that position. He just
It took a
wanted
lot of
security for his
convincing,
family. It
right?
took a lot
And
of
that's where
convincing.
Camino del Rio, he has that side to him as well, where he is very convincing, very charming, and he can win people over.
Mm.
He had to work for it to get Marty.
And then it took an absolute turn at the end of the season where he got shot in the head by Darlene. And that just goes to show like anything can happen in this show. Like they will take the main villain and be like, oh, he's just like the guy who travels for the main villain. Like he's not even the main guy. And they just kill him off over like an accident, essentially.
Yeah, and we can discuss it more in the review the video that we make. But yeah, that was wild because you think the plot is going one way, like okay, this deal's done. Wow, this is super interesting, and then uh, he's dead. How does
Right.
this affect they just made this deal? How does this affect it? You're telling me he the main guy? What is happening? So yeah, that's great. Yeah,
N-
who's your number 3?
Number 3 pick, I went with Jonah, Marty Bird's
Okay.
son, wielding the gun, and like I don't know, like in other shows, I always felt like the kids were sort of outside the crime world and sort of indefensible from the impending doom that's surrounding them. But I like how Jonah sort of takes things into his own hands and he arms himself. He learns how to shoot a gun, and he he puts himself in a position to kind of defend the family a little bit more, and you see his voice kind of grow throughout the season. In the beginning, he never really voices his opinion. He's just going along with the flow. Charlotte's the only one saying how unhappy she is with the family's decision. And then towards the end of the season, he's like, do I have a say in things? Like, I want to like I don't want to change my identity and be called this new dude. Because then Jonah Bird is dead. And I'm like, damn, dude, like from a kid's perspective, like that's so real because your name and like your personality and how others perceive you is so like real and visceral. And eliminating that aspect of yourself is like very intense. So, it's balancing like becoming a man, but also like staying real to like that childlike self that Jonah has. So very cool. And he's just a good character. Like I like his character.
Super easy to root for. Such just a innocent kid. You can relate to his feelings, like when he's like, yeah, do I have a say? Like, what is what's happening? And yeah, very easy to root for. He didn't make my list. It just because the like half of this season I feel like was just him
Wandering
doing
around the woods.
wandering around the woods, like doing weird things. Although it's not really him doing weird things, but the way that they set it up makes Marty, Wendy, and like the viewers think that there might be something wrong with Jonah, right?
Right.
But that's not really the case. But once we do get later in the season, like you said, there's a lot of good stuff there, and I think we're gonna just continue to see that develop as it goes on. But because a lot of this season we didn't get that Jonah for a lot of it, he didn't quite make my top five. Number three for me is going to be an interesting pick. It's going to be Pastor Mason Young.
Love it.
He it's again such a unique spin in this world where you have Marty wanting to build this church for this guy who's preaching on the water, finds out, oh, that can't happen because Jacob Snell is like, no, we need to use that. We need the boats on the water to be so we can distribute our product, right? And it really puts Mason in such a bind throughout this whole season where he's like he has this guy who is like wanting to build this church, but then now he's like, I can't build this church. Why is he telling me I can't build it? I have this other guy, Jacob Snell, threatening me. Like, what is happening? And he's questioning his faith. He's questioning everybody around him. And I feel like there's just a lot of interesting actions, and it's a very unique character that like I feel like I can't really compare to many other
He just seems
shows.
so
But
jolly. Like he's such a I don't know, he just stands out in my mind from this world because he's just so stoked to be there all the time and like spread God's word. But his like devices are being used for this dark operation that he has no idea about. And
Right.
dude, there's that scene later in the season where I thought he was losing his mind and drowning his baby, bro.
Dude, yes.
And I'm like, oh god, he's just like baptizing the baby. I was like, whoa, dude, like this turned dark quick. But yeah, he's still a man of the Lord, despite his wife being, viciously
Well, dude,
murdered. Unfortunately,
yeah. Well, dude,
we don't know that.
That scene could be a sign of things to come for him, even though that's not what was happening to his child. Could be a sign of things to come.
Okay.
But yeah, dude. So yeah, number two, what you got?
Number 2, Agent Petty. All right, Agent Petty
God.
is literally the biggest dirtbag in the whole show. But I kind of like it. Like, I kind of like how the criminology, how dark, like, the law enforcement. It's interesting because you have Marty Bird, a character that you root for. He's a good guy, but he's doing less good things to save his family and people that he loves. But then you have Agent Petty, who's supposed to be on like the law's side, enforcing good morals, just being an absolute scumbag to everybody, manipulating his way to the top to expose Marty. He literally fakes gay sex with a guy just to like manipulate him and bamboozle him.
He is gay though, isn't he?
He is gay, yeah, but he's using that
Right,
as like a thing
right.
because his heart was broken by the other guy. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
right.
it's so, dude, it's so scummy, it's so dirty, that like, but I like it. I like how dark his character is.
this is where I have to push back a little bit because you bring up a lot of great points, especially with the contradiction with uh or the difference between him and Marty, where like one's on the good side, technically one's on the bad side, but the one on the bad side's almost doing more good things. The one on the good side is doing bad things. It's interesting, and and I think they went this such a dark route with the main detective here because one, you don't have Camino del Rio like at all this season, right? Like
Mm.
the cartel is not in the Ozarks. So that's problem number one. Who else are you going to make the villain? You have Ruth, who is doing bad things, but you're also seeing glimpses of Ruth where you're like, okay, maybe she's not so bad. So I think they needed somebody
To blur
to
the
be
moral lines a little bit.
right. And then I also think they want you to they just want to stack the deck to make you root for Marty.
Right.
And it's like I can understand that, but
What's your qualm?
but my qualm is that I just don't know if they needed to go with this type of detective route. I think they could have just went with a more standard
Just
detective.
sort of like a third eye, like witnessing everything that's happening and trying to get hot on the trail. I
Yeah, and I
I completely get that. I completely get that, but I kind of like the complete twist and turn that it took with like the relationship with this dude and like I don't know. I don't know. I mean I
those
don't
plot
know.
points aren't possible if you have the standard cop. So if I understand it from that perspective as well, it's just there's a fine balance because there's a lot of characters in shows they want you to hate, right?
Right.
They're meant to be the villain or they're meant to be hated. It's weird though because there's a fine line of like do you hate somebody in a good way of like they're meant to be hated or you have such like disgust for them that you're like I don't want this person on my screen. Do you feel like
Yeah,
there's that like
and it's
fine
it does sort of cross that line where it's like every
and
time
that's
he
my problem.
shows up in the second half of this season, I'm like, dude, get out of here, bro.
Yeah.
And I
Like
don't like the amount of screen time that he took up. Like when you kind of can predict he's up to no good and just gonna like ruin people's lives.
yeah.
But what sort of made me appreciate his character more was that flashback episode. And I keep coming back to that flashback episode for like giving me a certain level of clarity with a lot of these characters'
It filled in a
directions.
lot.
But
It
it is
filled in a
because
lot.
there's so many flashback episodes that do nothing. Like there's a flashback episode in Stranger Things, or what is it? Or it's just like a side. It's like a side story arc or something. I don't even know. But there's a lot of like separate stories that happen within a season where they take an episode and like make it be something else to take a break from the regular story arc.
It
And and
doesn't
and it doesn't
add a
do
lot.
anything. And it doesn't do anything. But this one to me did so much. Even with Agent Petty and like describing his past, like with his mom struggling to be an FBI agent while like, handling his relationship and how like an inherently good guy can turn like so dark. And I like that aspect. Um, yeah,
I
and I do like
completely
the blurred lines. I don't think that they needed to like go so visceral with it and like the betrayal
yeah,
aspect.
they went hard. I mean, this
It
guy
was hard to
did
watch, but I kind of
anything.
I don't know. I liked how intense of a character it was, how potent it was.
And
Maybe
like
not every
I
time
can
he showed up on screen, he didn't give me that Jonah effect where it's like, oh, it's Jonah, like things are chill again,
yeah,
or
I
tough.
can understand that. But for me, I couldn't quite do it. Uh, my number two, Ruth Langmore. You touched on her earlier. Yeah,
Rafe.
it's tough because yeah, she's meant to be kind of a villain for a lot of this season, where she's trying to kill Marty and trying to take his money. But
Her soul
a
hangs in
lot
the balance for the majority
a
of it.
lot of that is coming from her dad, right? Who's in jail wanting that to happen. What's interesting though is there's a specific moments in this season where you're like, Ruth seems like a good person. She seems like she has a heart. She wants good things, and like there's certain moments where like she comes around on Marty, and she's like, oh, Marty Bird, this guy's all right. Like,
Mm.
and so we see that yeah, like she's torn where it's this balancing act where her dad wants to get all this money from Marty and kill him, but we see a lot of good things from Ruth. And the whole time when I was watching this season, I was like, Ruth seems like there's so much more to this character, and she's gonna be a big time character, one of the main focuses. And As I've watched a little bit more, that's definitely coming to fruition. And there's so much more depth to this character, which I absolutely love. And we just get glimpses of that into this season. But yeah, I mean, any other thoughts on Ruth before we
I
move on?
okay, you bring up like a lot of interesting points that sort of jogged my memory on like her character and how like she's like so I think family is like a big recurring theme through this first season and sort of like Marty Bird protecting his family and keeping it super rigid, not letting Charlotte and Jonah go away, fighting to keep them together. And then you have Ruth fighting to break apart from her family, fighting to get away from like these expectations of like being a hick in Missouri and like not being associated with her criminal father, her criminal family. She's like defining her own life. She's taking new opportunities. She meets Marty and Marty becomes sort of a father figure to her.
Yeah,
So it's very interesting how what they have to say about family through this first season with this character Ruth.
100%. Uh,
Number one
all
pick?
right,
Oh, honorable mentions. Let's do a
honorable
little.
mention. We got one honorable mention. I'll give mine real quick. It's Cade Langmore, Ruth's father. This is a character you're not supposed to like. This character, though,
He's
like for
dark,
me,
dude. Dark.
it's very very dark. But again, I don't have the get off my screen effect like
I
I
think
do
you're
with
right
Ted.
about that, dude. I think you're
And
right.
and I feel like I just knew I'm like Cade. He's going to somehow get released from jail at some point, and this is like what is going to happen. That's going to flip everything upside down when that
And you
happens.
see,
And
she's still like Ruth is still very much affected by her father's influence, even if she didn't kill Marty.
right.
Like she wants that approval. It's still her dad at the end of the day.
Exactly. And so he can flip everything that's happening in the show upside down. And yeah, there's so much darkness and ominous with this character that like you're intrigued by him. Every time that Ruth goes to the prison to talk to her dad, it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is a bad dude." And he's going to do bad things and he does not care who he does it to. He doesn't care what it costs. And what does that mean for the rest of this show?
100%, dude. Any more honorable mentions from you?
That I mean, I could talk about so many other characters, but yeah, that was the one honorable mention that
Dude,
I wanted
okay,
to.
I got an honorable mention. The one black guy in this show. The other
That
FBI agent, dude.
the
The
other
unsung hero, dude.
dude, I like him.
He's good, dude. He's a good time. He's
It's
very like forgettable other than the fact that he's the only black dude in the show. But
Agent Trevor Evans,
Agent Trevor Evans.
I
See, I even
believe.
forgot his name. But
They don't really like tell you his name ever, I feel like.
yeah, they don't. And yeah, it just seems like a good guy, just trying to do his job, questioning the morals of Agent Petty. Someone's got to put this man in check. Hopefully, he does it in a future season.
When he and I think Evans knows that if you're gonna try to crack this operation down, you have to do it legally, or else none of this
It's
is
gonna
gonna be
fall
able to
through.
hold up in court, and you're not gonna be able to do anything about it, right? Like there's laws against this where if you're using illegal methods to uh get people, right? That's not gonna work. It's not gonna fly. But Petty doesn't care. He's so hell bent on cracking this operation, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like the moral compass that's trying to check Petty, but it's like Petty's so out of control that he can't do anything about it. And I think that's partially because of their previous relationship that Petty's like feels like Evans is just saying this stuff out of spite, but it's like no, he's just right objectively.
All right, dude. Let's say our number one pick on the count of three. All right.
All
One,
right.
two,
It-
three. Marty
Marty
Bird, dude. Let's
Bird,
go, bro. And
yeah.
literally a legend, dude. Do you want to take this one? I know you're a
Yeah,
fan of
I'll
Marty.
say a few things of
I think
Marty Bird
Jason
real quick.
Bateman's a wonderful actor too, who plays him so well. Like he's just sort
Dude,
of like this, like
he's so
sort
good.
of like number cruncher, like not super emotionally expressive unless like somebody really gets to him, but he's constant.
Hey,
I don't even know, like
no,
he's so like anxiety ridden. I don't even know. He's just
dude,
so
I
good.
love when he's like, okay. I love the way that it's
Okay.
just like his
Okay, yeah.
delivery.
Sounds good.
It's
Okay.
dude, it's like,
So
or he's
good.
like, go, go do this with your brother, okay? And it's like just, it's a dude. It's such a unique character. Like I've never, I
But
don't even
it's
know
so
who to
like
compare
I
him
know
to.
so many dads who are like that, where they're like kind of tuned out and like in their own world when it comes to like their job or business or whatever they're thinking about. That when it comes to family, they're just like, all right, just go do this for me, okay? It's
Right,
so
and but
funny.
he has this calming presence of him, but like under that is
He's paddling, dude. He's going
un,
crazy.
under that he is so much stress because of the life that he's living, and there, Marty, it's so easy to root for this character, and there is so much depth to him as well. I feel like, and as long as we get further along in the show, there's just more and more to him, but. Just such an easy to root for guy. I mean, I find we compare this show a lot to Breaking Bad. I honestly find it easier to root for Marty than I did. Um, I'm literally
Walter
blanking.
White.
Walter.
Yeah, I think
Is that
so too. I think so too.
like even Walter in like first few seasons before he broke bad, right? Like I
Right.
just think I don't know, and I think yeah, Jason Bateman, absolutely phenomenal acting jobs. It's such a unique character.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, I think Jason Bateman does an excellent job playing him, like I said earlier. And yeah, nobody, I mean, yeah, it's Marty freaking Bird. Like, it's Miracle Man Marty. He's crunching the numbers.
He's
He's
way out.
tapping into small businesses, trying to save them from bankruptcy. And he's grinding out here, manipulating people, but he's a smart dude. And yeah, and he always barely succeeds. So very exciting. It was hard watching him get tortured, though. Let me tell you that. It was hard
That,
watching him get his toenails pulled out.
yeah, that was
That was a little brutal.
yikes.
But dude, he kept quiet even when his toenails were getting pulled out in that episode. Like, think about
Impressive.
that. Super
Impressive, dude.
impressive.
He's a very impressive man, and yeah, he pulls out all the stops.
He does. He does. All right, well, guys, this has been our top 5 character list for season 1. And yeah, we're going to try to hit. If you're a big fan of Ozark, welcome, because we got all the Ozark content. We're going to try to hit 15 likes on this vid, all right? If you can hit 15 likes, we're going to come out with a full season 1 review, what we thought of the season as a whole, and we are going to come out with future content for every season of Ozark as we watch it. So,
Yes.
guys, smash that like button, leave a comment, leave a sub.
Is comment what's your top 5 from the season? Again, these are top 5 from this season alone. So, if you've already watched future seasons, you gotta try to think back. Put yourself in only these 10 episodes. What do you get from it? What's your top 5? Because I'm sure we're gonna keep doing these top 5s as we go along, and I'm sure they're gonna change. So,
Absolutely. And we will see you in the next one.